Hey, what up? Thank you so much for clicking this video. I am Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer from South Africa. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. In this video, we are going to talk about web design and web development. So this is a list of things that I am going to talk about. But first, let me show you a layout of my website that I am designing, okay? This is my website. I'm Matthew Msengati, the designer and developer. So I am going to take this website that I've designed using Figma. I'm going to code it using Next.js, React.js, Tailwind CSS, and for the database I'm going to use MongoDB. Okay, let me just show you this. These are different screens, okay, because the layout has to be responsive. So these are different screens up to almost the small screen or mobile like screen, as you can see. Okay, so before we dive into like coding this website, I want us to talk about some few things. Okay, please be advised that this is a very opinionated tutorial or video, so meaning that I will be throwing a lot of my thoughts, a lot of my opinion, and I will reveal to you how I see the world. So this means that some of the things that I will be talking to you about, you won't agree, of which I respect and understand that you understand that we don't always agree in life. I think you understand that. So it's very opinionated there. So take what you think it's right that will fit for you. And also, if really you don't agree, you can just shoot a comment so that I can know. Then maybe I can make another video or I can gain a different perspective. Okay, so I'm that type of a person who first look at things, get into doing them, understand what they are, and then once I get the hang of it, okay, I like to think of things my own way and do them my own way after I some sort of understand the basic and what's going on. Okay, so in this video, let's first start about design and development bridge. Okay, if you follow my channel, you know that I have been a graphic designer for a very long time in digital space and also in printing. So I've got a lot of experience as a designer. So some time ago, I transitioned to web development, okay, to coding and front-end development. Okay, so transitioning from design to UI development or some sort of front-end development, I just realized that there is a bridge between design and development. I think most companies, this is what they do. They have a designer and they have a developer. I don't think when they are hiring a designer, it's some sort of a requirement to know a thing or two about development. I don't think so. I think in most companies, even in most giant companies, these are standalone departments. They are separate. Okay, obviously this is just an assumption based on what I hear from friends who are working for big companies. Okay, so this gap between design and development, I think it creates some issues, okay? Because as a designer, you don't really know the coding world. You don't know the possibilities, you don't know the limitations, you don't know what's possible and what's not possible. So I heard with my friend that there's always some sort of a query between the designer and developers. Sometimes the designer feel like the developers, the front-end developers, they don't really bring, let's say, bring to life their design. They always make some, what can I say, adjustment. They always improvise, you know. Obviously, the designer thinks that whatever they design, it's going to be exactly as they were designing it, okay? They are not aware of the practicality of it, okay? Maybe when they were designing, they had these sort of screens. But however, when you take this to real life, you will find out that maybe this screen, it's obviously the width of the screen, it's like this one, but maybe the height, it's not like this one. Maybe this screen in reality ends here. Okay, so this is the actual shape. Okay, But the gap between, so this is where we are, the gap between the design and development leads to some sort of things not being done properly. So that's why I decided to talk about it first. So as a designer, I'm starting to see that, okay, there is this gap, and this gap needs to be closed. Okay, for instance, what is some sort of a major problem that can arise between some sort of the gap of a designer and a developer? So what I'm trying to say is, as a designer, you need to know a thing or two about development so that you can come up with layouts or design that some sort of not necessarily easy to implement or that are practical and feasible. But some design, if you don't know a thing or two about development, they are some sort of complex. The way they've been arranged, they are arranged in such a way that they struggle, they bring a lot of hassle to the developer. Okay, what might be a practical example of that? For instance, let's look at this design and this one, and also going to this one. Okay, if a designer, as I've told you that I'm going to use Tailwind CSS to do what, to some sort of style this this web app. Okay, so let's talk about the responsiveness. Okay, Tailwind CSS has got some sort of custom breakpoints. Okay, let me just give you a perspective. This is this screen. Okay, so as this screen gets smaller, this is a breakpoint because it reaches some sort of a different screen, and as it gets smaller, this is also another breakpoint. So these are breakpoints. Okay, so Tailwind CSS has got some sort of its own standard breakpoints. Okay, which are these ones. As you can see, this is Tailwind CSS documentation website. So as you can see, this is 640, 768, 1024, 1280, and whatever. Okay, as you can see, as a designer, while I'm designing, I'm aware that I'm going to use Tailwind CSS. So it makes my life easier when I'm coding if the design, my design conforms to Tailwind CSS what breakpoint. As you can see, I've got 1280, I've got 1024, I've got 768, and I've got 640. Okay, it makes my life easier because I know that first of all, I'm hitting exactly on these breakpoints. So chances are my design will be some sort of easy, and it will fit to some sort of the coding standard or the coding screens of Tailwind CSS. Remember, Tailwind CSS is not design. When we are designing, it's either we use Figma, we use Adobe XD, maybe we use Illustrator or CorelDRAW or Photoshop, but it has got, this is a different world. This is a coding world. So me being being a designer and also a developer, now I'm trying to see things that designers can do in order to make the developer's life easier. Hence, I'm saying the design and development bridge. Okay, so designers, as a designer, you need to know something about development so that you make your life easier. Okay, so imagine if let's say as a designer I had what can I say, a text that is this big. Okay, that is this big. Okay, let's say let me just leave it like this. So it means that as soon as I make this screen small, that means here this will be another breakpoint. Okay, that means this text needs to be made smaller when we are here. Okay, as you can see, if we hit this breakpoint, that means we need to work on this text again and again and again and again and again. Okay, but as a designer who at least knows a thing or two about development, okay, I decided to make this layout like this. For instance, let's just look at this one. So in order for me to make this website responsive, this navbar or this top section responsive, there is a gap between these two. So this will just move like this and move like this. So this will be my first major breakpoint. As you can see, as this is my first major breakpoint, it's already inside another breakpoint. Most probably it's already inside also this breakpoint. Okay, so what that does, I'm coming up with a design that minimizes the breakpoints, and also at the same time I'm coming up with a design where I know what I will do when I hit a certain breakpoint. As you can see in this design, I just removed this part and then I will be only left with this part, and this section just move under this one. So first of all, I'm trying to say this gap between the designer and developer must be bridged. So designers need to know a thing or two about development so that they can come up with designs that are easily executable. Okay, now let's talk about mobile and desktop first. I have struggled with this concept for a very long time. To be honest, I really didn't understand it, but I have given it some sort of, I believe it's enough time now. Okay, so I'm not going to explain to you what is mobile or desktop first. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the internet and look for obviously I've looked for a website that explain what is desktop first design or what is mobile first design, so that when I'm criticizing it, I cannot some sort of make a criticizable definition of it. Okay, so somebody else must define it for me, then I criticize it, because I don't really understand and agree with this concept. I believe that design is some sort of a new industry. It's a new industry. It's not like mathematics, which was there, like, what can I say, it was been discovered like hundreds and thousands of years ago. I think more especially design in terms of graphic design and web design and the UI and UX, these industries are very new. So I feel like now that they are new, we are trying to come up with a lot of unnecessary definition and also confusing definition and terms and concept. I think we want these industries to quickly grow up and be like your accounting industries, where there are rules and standards, and also law, and what can I say, medicine, okay, and also engineering, where there are some sort of certain laws governing these industries. Okay, so I really don't understand this concept of mobile first and desktop first. To me, it doesn't make sense at all, but I will explain why. Okay, let's read. What is mobile first design? Mobile first design or mobile first approach enables web designers to start product design for mobile devices first. Guys, this is the essence. There is nothing more than this one. When you are starting to design, you're starting from a mobile first. Okay, to me, that's basically about it. All other things that they will talk about, for instance, let's just read the second paragraph. This can be done by sketching or prototyping the web apps designed for the smallest screens first and gradually working up to large screens. Basically, that's it. Prioritizing the design for mobile makes sense as there are space limitation in device with smaller screen sizes, and teams need to ensure that the key element of the website are prominently displayed for anyone using those screens. As you can see that the concept behind is that you need to be cognizant of the fact that this is also going to be displayed on a mobile screen, since obviously, as you know, that mobile devices are taking over. We are all using them. So that's the idea behind mobile first approach or mobile first design. Okay, so when I have been designing websites, I really didn't understand why must I start on a smaller screen. Okay, remember, we are just talking about the design. We are not talking about development. We are not talking about some sort of CSS. Okay, in terms of CSS, in terms of styling, you can choose to start from small screens going up, which is your breakpoints will have, let's say, at max width or min width. That will be the difference. Okay, as you can see that in terms of CSS, technically using min width doesn't really have benefits over using max width. It just depends on where do you start. Maybe if you start from small screen, you will use, let's say, min width and then continue with your breakpoints. They will be the same. If you start with the bigger screen, you will use, let's say, max width and continue. It has got nothing to do with how the website will look. So I'm trying to say I'm aware of the mobile first and desktop first in terms of CSS technicalities. And even in terms of CSS technicalities, it makes no difference in terms of the content. Now, let's say mobile first just means that you must be aware that this is going to be displayed in a mobile, so it needs to suit the mobile, okay? And then also it will grow up to let's say up to desktop, okay? Whenever I've been designing website, I always started from the bigger screen. Why? Okay, this is where the majority of the content is in, okay? To me, it's easier, or it makes sense for the client to give me all the content that they will want to be displayed on their website, and I will some sort of prioritize the importance as I scale down the width of the screen. Okay, obviously I will choose my own things that I think they're important and I can discuss with the client, because some other things need to be hidden. In a way, these elements are some sort of competing for attention. Okay, so I just have to check which one is important. For instance, this learn code the easy way, it's more like a slogan. It doesn't have my name. So if I have got a limited space, I can remove it, because this part has got my name. So it introduces me. It's more like an identity. So do you see that as we scale down, we are eliminating info or arranging information based on its priority. Okay. To me, that would have been the same if I would have started from a small device, because I've got the content already. The client has given me the content. So it doesn't mean when I'm starting from a mobile device, now all of a sudden the client will give me some sort of shorter information and I don't have to add that information here on the bigger screen. I don't have to add it here. In a way, in the end, I need to add that information because it's necessary. Okay, so then one might ask, okay, Matthew, what are you trying to say in terms of mobile first and desktop first approach? For me, this is what I think, or this is what I think it means, okay? If I'm moving from point A to B, okay, whether I started from point A to B or point B to A, I have just walked the same distance. This guy moving from left to right and the one moving from right to left, the speed might be different, yes, but the distance traveled, it's the same. That's how I think about mobile first and desktop first. Whether you start on a bigger screen or on a smaller screen, you are going to get the same result. Well, one might argue, as most website and most designers and developers, they argue, if you start with a mobile first, your website looks nice or looks better on mobile. Okay, let me argue against that. If I have started from a big screen, why would I land, because if I started on a big screen, why would I land as a designer on an ugly screen for a mobile device? Why would I do that? Maybe one might feel like, no, you are going to take this information as it is and then you are going to push it here. Maybe you are going to have some sort of visual clutter. And my question is, why would I do that? If you think this screen is decent for mobile, then it means that starting from here doesn't really make this screen ugly, and also starting from mobile doesn't really make this screen a little bit different now that I've started on mobile. One might talk of what can I say, certain features and let's say the type of content. Okay, the other argument might be there are assets that fits well for laptop screen or desktop screen. Okay, let's say this image, let's say here it's bigger and it's what can I say, it takes a lot of pixels, takes a lot of space, it's meant for computers. Okay, computers can easily process it, but if you take this picture and move with it up to the smaller screens, they must load faster, so this heavy picture is going to be a problem and that might temper with the overall user experience. I agree with you, but my question is, why would I do that? Why would I take, let's say, a 100,000 megabyte picture as I am scaling down the design? Why would I keep it? I really don't know why would I keep it so that it can be here also, so that somebody can say The reason why it's here and it's got a bad experience, it's because of you started from desktop first. Even starting from the desktop first means that if I have now to change this picture and load a lighter one, a lighter version of this image, I can change it. The same way, if I have a picture with small pixel, if I started on the mobile, the same way I've got a small pixel picture here, I can carry it through up to here, more especially if it pixelate, unless it looks decent. Okay, so what's my take on mobile first design? To be honest, I'm going to be very clear. I really don't understand this concept. I think it's one of those things where we are trying to, everybody is trying to come up with his own opinion and his own way of, we are trying to some sort of quickly including concept that will want to make the industry to grow bigger, so that maybe one day I think yeah, there are courses in higher institution where you are being taught UX and UI and whatever. I think that's the reason. Or it's a very opinionated industry. Everybody throws his own thing, and maybe it happens that the most famous designers are the one whose terms are being adopted. But mobile and desktop first, to me, it's a very I don't really agree with it. I don't really understand the purpose of it, since I'm saying whether I started from a desktop to a mobile screen, I will always do the same design when I started from a mobile to a desktop. But personally, I choose to get an idea of everything that I'm working with, which is here on the bigger screen, and I will remove and make some responsiveness based on the priority. So I think what I'm saying now boils down to form versus function. Okay, I hope this is typing. Okay, oh, this is not a text tool. Okay, form versus function. Okay, I have to type C. Okay, form versus function. Okay, obviously things must be presented in an enticing, beautiful, and visual pleasing way, which is a form, I understand, but that doesn't mean form must some sort of outshines or shadows the function, because the function is still important. Imagine here, okay, let's say I'm starting with the mobile first. Okay, I took all the content, I removed some important content here and put it on the mobile screen only for the sake of the website must load faster, the user experience must be great, and then realize that because of that, I didn't put the email. The email is not there. Okay, the form is good, it loads fast, the performance has improved, but if there is no contact number there in the entire web page, then it becomes a problem, because maybe to the client it's very important to have a contact number there. Okay, so let's not some sort of favor the form more than functionality. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So whether you started from the mobile screen or you started from the desktop screen, the truth of the matter is the client must be happy, or your website or web app needs to be functional. It needs to fulfill its purpose. Okay, so do you see that it's not the screen that is important, but it's the purpose? Is it clean? Is it visually appealing? Also, is it functional? Also, is it readable? Does it make sense? Is it something that I wish I can look at and it's informative, irrespective of the screen? Okay, so I don't understand the idea of screening things first. It doesn't matter it's mobile or it's desktop first. I hope you get my thoughts on that one. If you've got a different opinion, obviously you can shoot a comment below and tell me what you think about it. But for me, I don't even really dig deep on mobile first or whatever. The best thing that I do, I know even if I started from the mobile or even if I started on the desktop, I must get the same result: a beautiful, pleasing, and also functional website or web application. Okay, now the other thing that I realized in the web design and development industry, okay, in responsiveness in particular. Okay, I have got an interview that I did here some time ago. So I recorded it. It was I think it was via Zoom meeting. So I had a record for it. So I just decided to remove the visuals of it, and I decided to trim some little things there, and then I have uploaded it. So this is part one and this is part two. So basically what happened here, I applied for a job in a marketing agency. Okay, so I got an interview and I was given a practical test. Okay, so the test was to use Elementor page builder to develop a website. So in the interview, or when I'm communicating with the guys, I told them that the reason why I always like to hand code my website, it's because these Elementor frameworks and plugins, they are opinionated. When somebody designed a website with Elementor, you can easily see that this is Elementor because there are some certain things. So the reason why I like coding my website, or I'm working on CSS and HTML, I want to extend the functionality of those websites. Okay, so to cut the story short, I was given this task to do a website with Elementor page builder, which the responsiveness based on Elementor, it was working fine. Okay, meaning that Elementor has got its own breakpoints, just like this one. Okay, so it has got its own breakpoints. So based on those breakpoints, I made the website responsive. Let's say this was the website, the first screen, and this was the second screen. Let's assume that this is Elementor. Now, when I was called to meet the team practically, or to talk to the guys, they called me to their office. They have used a laptop which is more or less like the size of the screen is like this. Okay, so guess what happened? My HTML broke in that screen. Okay, as you can see that this screen is 1280 and this one is 1024. So this screen, it's somewhere in between, as you can see, between this point and this point. So it's somewhere in between. So these are CSS frameworks and plugins and whatever styling innovations, they automatically some sort of choose certain device screens. Okay, just like this what can I say, just like Tailwind CSS, it has got this one. Remember, this is not in Tailwind CSS, this is then not all that is. What is interesting about Tailwind CSS is that you can create your own. Okay, but the reason why I'm bringing it into the picture, it's like they have their own some sort of own breakpoint, some sort of definition of a medium screen, of a large screen, and a small screen. Okay, so when we're looking at my website, the website was broken because of Elementor just offered me some certain breakpoints, and the laptop that they were using, it was somewhere in between. Okay, obviously I had to explain to them that this is not my fault, this is Elementor's fault. If I was doing this responsiveness using custom CSS, I was not going to face these issues because I was going to include breakpoints here. Okay, so now I want to introduce a responsive range. Okay, so now that we've got some technologies that are giving us some certain breakpoints, then how do we some sort of, what can I say, break away from this problem of having a website that will be broken when, okay, undo, where is that? Yeah, how do we run away from this problem where when you find a laptop screen that is somewhere in between here, it doesn't break? Okay, first of all, let's just some sort of prove that these breakpoints that these plugins are choosing, they are not these so-called breakpoints, these so-called standards. Okay, there are more screens between this 640 and 768, and there are more screens between laptop screens or device screens between this 768 and 1024. Same applies and same goes for this. Okay, let's look at here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's almost like we've got 5 screens. Okay, I've just went to a website and I looked for popular laptop PC screen resolution. Okay, as you can see, this is the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. we have reached 5 different screens, but as you can see, we are still continuing. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is some sort of 4 more screens on top, which if you are using this, let's say if you are using this framework or styling or CSS framework, it means that you are only catering for these devices and not for the other 5 or the other 4. Okay, as you can see, there is a picture here that illustrates this, as you can see. So there is a lot of laptop screens, a variety of laptop screens than just these 2. So how do we solve this problem? Okay, for me, obviously this is what I think. I think we need to introduce something called a responsive range. Okay, user interface elements need to have a certain range of responsiveness. Okay, what is a responsive range? Okay, this means that if I have this gap between my breakpoints, okay, between my breakpoints, this gap, okay, as you can see, this is the gap between this point and this point. This means that my elements need to some sort of do well in this range. Okay, they must not break. I must find a way when I'm coding to make sure that they don't break in this range, because I have not accommodated like maybe a breakpoint here, a breakpoint here, and a breakpoint here. So I must always think of a certain range of length of pixels. Okay, let's say if this is 100 pixels, meaning that these elements, they need to have some sort of a long range in terms of its own responsiveness. Okay, how could we do that? For instance, if you look at these elements, the design and also the email, as you can see, this email can move closer and closer and closer and closer up until it reaches this breakpoint without having a need for us to some sort of make adjustment up until it reaches this point. Then here maybe we can take it to underneath this one. I hope you understand the idea of a range. Okay, so now let's talk about this element, the middle section. Okay, as you can see, the more we move this, I hope this is visible, let me increase it. Okay, as you can see, let me take this out. This is not out. Okay, no problem. As you can see, the more we move these screens closer here, this is a problem, but obviously this section will move closer and closer to this one. But the more we reach, as you can see, starting from here, there will be some sort of a problem that will be here. Okay, so how could we solve? Because as you can see now, this calls for a breakpoint somewhere in the middle of this one, this point, and this point, as you can see here. Okay, so what we can do here, we can some sort of what can I say, work on this font, okay, so that it can be a relative font instead of it being a solid pixel, which is it's some sort of a solid pixel that really doesn't change. It can be a relative font like what 120 rems or 2 rems. Okay, meaning that when it's 2 rem, it's some sort of what can I say, it's some sort of it adapts to, it's not some sort of a solid font that really doesn't move, it's fixed. So we must arrange it in such a way that we must put this font of this in such a way that when the screen moves down, also this shrinks a little bit. Okay, even this one shrinks a little bit, even this shrinks a little bit, in such a way that as it scales down, this happens, something like this happen, let's say. Okay, something like this happens until we reach this breakpoint. As you can see, that range of responsiveness will help these items not to break when they reach this point. I hope you do get the responsive range. I hope you do get the idea of a responsive range. Obviously, I think the best person who can work and understand that is somebody who will be designing the website. So the designer needs to be aware of these things to understand that at some point this needs to be responsive. So for instance, you can't put a very, let's say, super long heading here from here to here that will always need some sort of responsiveness. You get what I'm trying to say? Or maybe if this uh, text collapses to under this one, let's say it collapses to under this one, and then it brings some issues. So whenever you are designing, you need to some sort of take care of the responsive range so that you know that your element, they can be responsive from here. They won't give issues until they reach maybe this breakpoint. Okay, until you can do something with this breakpoint, and then they must work well until you reach this breakpoint, and they must work well until you reach this breakpoint. So the responsive range means that. Okay, that means we are done with the responsive range. Okay, then the responsive content. When I'm talking about the responsive content, obviously I think that's what I have mentioned here. I think when you are designing the website, how you arrange your content might determine if is it going to be responsive or not going to be responsive, or it's going to some sort of, what can I say, it's going to be a hassle or a tough time for the developer to make your design responsive. For instance, if you look at this icon, okay, this little icon, okay, as you can see, it might be easier for us this section and this section to be displayed flex, and then once we reach this breakpoint, this is flex row, and then once we reach this breakpoint, this can be a flex column. That means these are going to be stacked on top of each other. That's easy. Okay, let's continue and see. We are talking about responsive content. Now we must take this to this side. Okay, meaning that, let's say now this was this section, let's say, okay, this section and this one, they were displayed flex, but they were column. So when we reach this breakpoint, then they must be displayed, they were displayed column now, so they must be displayed row. That means next to each other. That is possible with a certain gap here. That is possible. But if you look now at these items, they are not the same. Here they don't look funny, okay, but here, as you can see, the designer decided to some sort of shift some of the icons. You see this row, it starts from here and maybe it ends here on the PS, but there is this HTML element, and also now these things are balancing. Okay, so this means that first of all, you are going to change this from let's say display flex to display from flex column to flex row, but you've got a lot of things to do, meaning that even here from flex you need to display some sort of from row to column, and also here from row to column, and also you need to take care of, let's say, removing some of the icons here so that you can get this balance. Okay, as you can see that it's possible, but there is a lot of things that needs to be taken care of before you reach this layout. Okay, I'm thinking, as the person who was designing and developing and designing this layout, I can see what I can do to make the transition from this layout to this one a little bit simpler than the way it is now. Okay, I can try to think about it, because I can see that based on just looking at it, it will require a lot of breakpoints. Okay, also concerning the fact that we are going to use Tailwind CSS, meaning that a lot of our CSS, they are utility classes which will be found on HTML. Obviously there is a way to create your own classes, I do understand that, but that's what I mean by responsive content. How do you arrange your content in such a way that it's easy? Okay, as you can see here, now that we were running away from this order, okay, from this order, this one, now we are still coming back to that order. Now, as you can see, the icons are back to beneath this section, okay, which it might be a hassle. So when I'm talking about a responsive content, I'm trying to say the content needs to be arranged in such a way that it makes it easier for the developer to make the website responsive, okay. Then the breakpoint train. Okay, the other solution to this breakpoint thing, instead of applying the range method, responsive range, meaning that your elements need to be some sort of, they need not to break in this range, okay, you can put a lot of breakpoints here. When you reach this place, you put a breakpoint. When you reach this place, you put a breakpoint, so that your website can be fluid. It cannot break anywhere, okay. However, that might cause a breakpoint strain, okay. Also, please be advised that these are my terms that I've coined just to explain what I want to explain, okay. So the breakpoint strain, it's when you are having a lot of breakpoints. Also, that's a problem. I've been doing that for a very long time until I decided like I need to some sort of limit my breakpoint. So when I'm including the content, I need to know that, okay, I don't have to include a lot of content that varies in shape and sizes, something like this, okay. Let me just give you an idea, like something like this, a text or elements like this, where you can see that the way these elements have been arranged, they will give me some sort of a tough time in, let's say, okay, and then this one, maybe it's too small, and then something like this, okay. At least rearrange your text or your element in such a way that at least it's something like this, okay. At least everything is equal. That's what I want to say, okay. More or less something like this, or it's two columns. Try to think of a grid in a way, okay. Think of blocks, not items that vary in terms of size and length and whatever. This will call for this will cause the breakpoint strain, okay. So after that, we've got a breakpoint gap. Also, when you are having like what can I say, few breakpoints, just like this one, okay, just like this breakpoint and this one, maybe you are having only 3 breakpoints, you are going to have some sort of a lot of gaps inside your design, just like this one. As you can see, this gap accommodates these breakpoints, okay. As you can see, your layout is going to be more like empty because you are anticipating other breakpoints. Guys, I'm Matthew Msingati, the designer and developer. This is my YouTube channel, Coded Design, where I teach coding and user interface design. As you can see in this channel this month, I want to reach at least 200 subscribers. Guys, we are getting there. I'm happy for your support. If you are new into this channel, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And also, please share this video with people whom you know it's going to add value to, so that we can spread the word and help other guys to learn. In doing so, we will be helping ourselves as well. So I'm shooting for 200 subscribers this month, so please let's make it happen. And also I will be coding this is my website, so I'm starting to some sort of try to take my YouTube to another level by some sort of creating a website for me, and also creating some sort of a coded design community, okay. Where is it? Okay, join the coded community here, okay. So it's like I'm starting to create my community, where it's going to be a community of creative and design and development guys, okay, where I will be sharing my thoughts, my updates on PDFs and books and anything in terms of the YouTube channel and what I'm all about, so that in case when I need someone to help me with something, I can publish it in the community, where we can some sort of help each other outside the platform of YouTube. And also now I'm going to start to create some sort of paid courses. I'm going to start to, what can I say, sell some courses, okay. So I think that is it, guys. Thank you so much for visiting this video. See you on the next one.